Ok. To hell and back. Cos'è tuo nome?
Raymond Martin.
Raymond Martin. Étudiant.
Hamilton.
Bien Hamilton.
Got batters.
Batters, ok.
Oui. Oh, t'as pris interview.
Oui. Come on, why not? Oh, we're getting up there in age. Why not do an interview? I'm getting up there in age. How old are you?
80 years old.
80 years. Oh, it's time to do a one-on-one. How long have you been here in Fredericton?
39 years.
39 years. How is Fredericton? Oh, the wind. I don't have a fancy camera. The wind got to be behind me. What do you think of Fredericton? They come a long way for the last 40 years?
Well,
we can speak French, but let's speak English. The majority of my YouTube is English.
Let me slow you down. Let me tell you a little bit. As a labor leader, as one has a record that's well known throughout North America, they call me a big boat. Some of them call me, but what I am, I'm a simple person who do not like to be trampled to death by the system. I believe that poverty is acceptable, but I do not believe it's acceptable when everybody else is getting rich of our sweat.
No.
Fredericton, as far as I'm concerned, it's a political town, it's university, it's not a place for poor people. Rent is way too high, costs of living is way over, that should not be acceptable. It seems like we're growing, but the only ones that are growing is the rich people.
I didn't know when I first came here 13 years ago that there was so many poor people and people suffer from mental illness in the city.
Yes. Well, you know, there's no such thing as mental illness by itself. 90% of mental illness is caused by suffering, by hunger, having too much to worry about on an everyday living, having children going to school badly dressed, married and being on welfare is a crime for a man to get out there and try to make a living. He has to go by what the system says.
The system.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some people that's allowed to work, and there's some people that are not allowed to work.
Everybody's allowed to work. Everybody, I don't believe this allowed to work. I don't believe in any of that. Here's what I believe in. I believe everyone has a right to a meal a day, 2 meals a day, have a roof over his head, and if he has to work, let's pay him a decent living that he can bring up a family. Okay, we spent 25,000 people that are now in Canada. I have nothing against that.
You mean the Syrians?
Well, whoever they are.
Yeah.
We have farms in Canada. I think we have about 25,000 farms that is dead. They will not turn an inch of that land over to a family unless it's sold to the developers.
What do you think of the Irvings?
Irving's, in a sense, is good, but Irving is a money-making machine. Irving does what he wants to do. Irving is tied into the political system. You know and I know that. We all know that, so we're not talking bad about Irving. We're just saying how much power does a politician have in a province. Mr. Irving decides the NDP is going to win, the NDP will win.
I worked for Irving, and the next thing you know, I didn't get along with management. And then they put me on the blacklist that I applied to work for other companies, and I couldn't work because I was on the blacklist. Irving wouldn't deal with that company. So there's really, some people are not allowed to work. You know, you see some people with mental illness or whatever, they'll allow them to work, but they'll make half the wages they make, no benefit. There's something wrong here.
Let's say, here's some of the things I've seen. Let's say nothing to do with Irving.
Okay. Let's forget Irving.
Let's just start with the system.
Yeah.
Frank decides he wants to build this warehouse.
Frank McKenna?
No, Frank, any Frank.
I'm just kidding here.
Well, let's say he decides he wants to build this big warehouse. He decides he's going to do great things. Now, he's going to look at this situation, and let's say this man, I seen it done in St. John, where they start building all of bricks. The reason they're building all of the bricks, because the guy that was having these buildings was a contractor and a developer. So they opened up a course bricklayers.
Okay. Then you create jobs.
So to create jobs at a low paid guys, low rate, teach them bricklaying,
Yep.
get a supervisor controlling 20 of them. This is how the province of New Brunswick was built. But believe it or not, it's still being done. In the marketing, there's politicians saying, there's a couple of buildings we're going to tear down. Let's not tear them down. Let's rebuild them, you know?
That's good. What do you think? What do you think about our justice system for the poor?
All right. My son right there now cannot drive a car.
How old is he?
My son right now is going on 30.
Yeah.
That little boy never had a drink in his life. He never smoked in his life. He is honest. He will work anywhere to make $1. Now, by losing his license, they demand that he pay both fines immediately.
How did he lose his license?
Just not having the registration.
Okay.
Forget the registration, and the next day got stopped again. He did not have his driver's license.
Yeah.
I went to them and I said, my son just got a job. Okay, just got a job, but he needs his car. Can we make arrangements payment? We need the whole thing. I turned around, I looked at my son, I said, well, Chris, because he's handicapped. I says, welcome aboard, it's $7.50 a month off of social services. That's where you're going. This is what the justice does. This is where we're saying we're helping young people. Now my son is going to be a what? Permanent on welfare, on social assistance?
What kind of handicap we're talking about?
I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay, no problem.
All right, this is it. I'm all done.
You're all done?
Monsieur le maire.
Toi t'es français, puis toi t'es français, puis t'as tout fini, c'est tout à dire, t'as pas d'autre chose.
No, no, no.
Okay, so one more thing before you go. To Hell and Back, you give me this book, I appreciate that. What is this all about?
To hell and back is because I was brought up in, like on the streets.
Yeah, were you?
My mother was a prostitute. She made that for a living. So it's,
Wow.
She made that.
St. John?
No. Hamilton. Those days, prostitution meant going next door labor when you're all drinking, and I drink for free, and there's always sex involved. We know that. So
Yeah.
all of this, I became a professional painter, not by trade. I only had grade 3 of school. Today I have university level. I graduated. It took me 25. It's in the book, and I travel all over North America.
One more thing. What's the meaning of life?
One doesn't really know that. It depends where you are, isn't it? It depends on what's your environment around you, isn't it? People say, what's the meaning of life? Well, it all depends on the kind of life you're living. What's the meaning of life? To a millionaire is the meaning of what he can do and
Money.
how far he can go with what he has.
Yeah.
What's the meaning of life? A guy on the side of the street. I wonder what it's going to be like tonight. Is it going to be cold? Am I going to freeze to death? What's the meaning of life?
Is there a God?
Pardon?
Is there a God? Est-il un bon Dieu?
This thing of God is a spiritual thing. There isn't too many people. Give you an example. There isn't one person on the face of this earth that feels he is not at home on planet Earth. None of us feels we're home here. So the answer to the question, is there a God? Why we do not feel at home? That's personal. You ask that to anybody, and you'll think for a second, then you'll say, you know, you're right, I never felt really at home here.
One more question. How come we never met?
We've met. I didn't know LeBlanc for many times. My son lived in the same apartment as you did.
Is your son Chris?
Yes.
Okay. Your son is Chris. Okay, now we're getting somewhere.
So it was not like you were not going to
Yes.
You were not going to expect me to say, look, I used to be a fighter for the local union.
Okay, I remember seeing you now. Yes, I seen you a few times in, oh my God, small world.
Well,
Je savais pas. I didn't know. Okay. Hey, nice to meet you again.
Same here.
Nice to talk.
Good luck, guy.
Toi aussi, merci.